connect with nature, connect with the cycle, be reminded of the natural cycle of this world that you live in, and getting in sync with it so you can feel more peace and more harmony and more inspiration and more love. Bring celebration into your life. Keep those important rituals. Take that time to pause, to reflect, to notice, to commune both with yourself and with others. Wherever you are at this time of the year, embrace it. Look for the good in it. Look for the lesson. Get in sync with it and watch your life get better. In today's busy world, how can we find the inspiration, knowledge, and energy to live a healthy and empowered life? If we balance and harmonize our mind, exercise our body, live according to the laws of nature, and connect to spirit, can we find a way to heal, become our authentic self, and live our purpose with love? I am your hostess, Amy Fournier, and welcome back to Awakening Aphrodite. Everyone is so busy these days, right? And I know if you subscribe to Awakening Aphrodite, that eating healthy is super important to you. But you're busy, right? You're on the go, and there's nothing worse than being like hangry, right? Or just waiting too long to eat, or getting home after a long day and you don't have anything prepared. We've all done it. We've all sabotaged our diet and just completely mashed our face with whatever's in front of us because we were starving. That doesn't have to happen. When in a pinch, you gotta have some safety nets ready. That's why I love things like the Paleo Valley meat sticks, the turkey, the beef, all the delicious flavors. I always have one with me. And I've many times come home from a long day starving, and before I had time to put a proper meal together, I would just munch on one of these sticks as like an appetizer just to take that edge off while I was preparing a healthy food. So check these out. Your family's going to love them. My 10-year-old niece loves them, so they taste good. I'm of the mindset, if it doesn't taste good, don't eat it. I mean, come on. Life's too short to eat food that doesn't taste good. And now you don't have to. So you can check it out on my website and use my code AmyFournier10 at checkout, which is not case sensitive, just my name, AmyFournier10 at checkout, and you can save 10%. Let me know what you think. Hey everybody, I want to share with you the newest item I added to my website e-store. Modern Alm is a company that gets it. They make ancient tools for modern living. One of the things I love from Modern Alm is their shungite. Have you heard about shungite? Okay, this is the new rage in the world of crystals because I'm sure you are aware of the effects of electromagnetic radiation, human-made radiation, artificial radiation. You know your body's a battery. It's electric, okay? And all these things are affecting our biorhythms and our energy and our ability to sleep and think clearly, whether you have brain fog or not. We want to protect ourselves in the way that we can. One of the ways you can do that is by using shungite crystals because it can protect you from harmful electromagnetic frequencies. It can help boost your energy, relieve stress, detoxify your body and mind, and increase physical and mental balance. So, the only place that I get shungite right now is from Modern Alm. They have gorgeous jewelry. They're responsibly sourced. Please check out Modern Alm. The link is on my website, e-store. Have fun shopping. I know I did. I always have to pull it back because I pretty much want everything. Okay, everybody, now let's get to the show. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Awakening Aphrodite with Amy Fournier. The show is about helping you to be healthy and fit in mind, body, and spirit, as well as harmonize your masculine and feminine energy, tap into your intuition, your true source of power, and awaken your authentic self. Well, because this show is about harmonizing ourselves both internally and externally, I am really excited to share with you the Wheel of the Year. You've probably heard of this or maybe seen it. You've definitely experienced it, whether you're aware of it or not. And I'm really excited to share this on the show because it's all about helping us get in harmony with nature, with life, with the bigger picture, so we can have more ease and flow and joy and harmony and manifestation. It's a great way to help you kind of take a pause, and connect, because I feel like our culture is really missing the beautiful rituals that we've had for tens of thousands of years as societies and as a species, really. We're missing so many of these rituals and rites of passage. We've talked about them a lot on my show. And we've also missed opportunities to celebrate, right? So to pause, to have a ritual, and to celebrate. These are critical things to our mind, body, spirit wellness and vibrancy and sense of wanting to live, meaning to life. Life is so busy and we're all so busy, and a lot of us are even overwhelmed at times. And when do you take a pause? Maybe other than just like your birthday or something like that, or, a big holiday like Christmas, whatever, which is usually pretty frantic and stressful for most people. When do we ever pause? No wonder we're not in tune with nature and in harmony with things, and we're out of sync with our natural DNA, our natural flow. We are creatures of and in nature. I know you know that. So this show is about to help you, hopefully, just be more aware of these things going on, so how you too can apply them to your life. And I just wanted to mention one other thing about the lack of celebration. I just feel like I've realized we don't really celebrate a lot of things in life anymore, right? A lot of people don't even like having a birthday once you get to a certain age, I guess. Um, and like, other than a wedding or maybe the birth of a baby, it's like, think about it. I'm going to ask you, when was the last time you actually celebrated something like Yahoo, or maybe even a trip or something? Yeah, cool. But I mean, really celebrate. So, what I've learned in preparing this show for you is that for tens of thousands of years, people had set celebration times that were in sync with the seasons and the next phase, the next cycle of life, whether they liked it or not. Yeah, a lot of us probably don't like winter if you live in the northern hemisphere, and particularly if you're in the northern states, because it's cold and freezing and it gets dark out at like 3 p.m. and it can be really depressing. That's for sure. And it doesn't matter though, even if you're living in that part of the world like I am right now. I'm actually in New England at the moment. And yes, it's cold. And we actually had a huge snowstorm yesterday. And my dogs had a hard time because, they're used to going out for their walk every day, and me as well. And rather than fight it and complain, I really had to kind of, all right, this is the season, this is the cycle. And I've lived in other states, and I know, like, even when I lived in Florida, we didn't have the seasons. We didn't have the cycle. It was sunny and beautiful every day. I know I spent Christmas season down there a few times, and I felt like I missed Christmas. And that might have been because I grew up in New England. So just, every year for my whole life, it was like, the trees and everyone decorated outside. It was dark and cold, and it was snuggly and cozy. And, I missed that. So having an awareness for the seasons, the cycle of the earth energy, even if you are in the warm southern states, it's still happening, obviously. And sure, it still got colder, but it wasn't quite the same. So this show is hopefully going to bring a little awareness, a little information, education for you, a little inspiration on how you can be in more sync with the seasons, how you can connect with nature, how you can bring a little ritual back into your life, and hopefully even a little bit of a celebration. All right, so let's dive in. I'm going to be referring to several resources. One is which called the Soothe and Soul Team. I'm also going to refer to the Goddess Guide by Priestess Brandy Ossett, and The Wheel of the Year, which is a book. It's actually the beginner's guide to celebrating the traditional pagan festivals of the seasons by Maureen Murrush. And that's a great resource, by the way. I also, if you're watching on YouTube, Awakening Aphrodite, Fit Amy TV, here is a Wheel of the Year. You can just get something like this online. And for those listening, I'm just showing it's a I don't know what you call it. I guess it looks like almost like a piece of wall art, you know? You can just hang it on the wall or put it somewhere in your kitchen. I think kitchen is really the best place, or maybe even your morning meditation or contemplation area or a place. You don't have one of those officially, maybe just a place where you like to have your morning tea or coffee or at night or even in your bedroom, whatever works for you. But you can just get this anywhere and it's really cool. It shows the different seasons, the different astrological signs. It has the phases of the moon. It has the phases of the sun. And of course, the wheel of the year component. So that's really cool. Wanted to share that with you. Okay, so for tens of thousands of years, communities would live and plan and flow with nature and celebrating the unique offerings that each season gifted. So remember, even if you don't like the season, or maybe you don't like summer, it's too hot for me. I hate sweating. People that are like that. They run hot already. They're very fiery, and they don't like the summer. So this is about not fighting what is, right? We always hear it. You can't change the weather, right? And you know that old saying, like, give me the grace to accept the things I can't change and yada, yada. You know the one. Well, every season brings its own gift and might bring its own challenge as well, but it also brings its own opportunity. Okay. So that's the first thing I wanted to share with you, that even if you don't like the season, it brings a gift, and get on board with it, because fighting it and resisting it is only going to make you suffer. Okay. So perhaps taking a deep breath and being open to what are the gifts that this season can bring? Even if I don't like it, like me, I'm an outdoor person. I'm a summer girl. Don't particularly like winter. I don't like freezing. I don't like not being able to be outside. Okay. Some people love it, but I can pause and be like, all right, let me embrace this time. Like, for example, I mentioned we had a snowstorm yesterday. I ended up cleaning out my office. I cleaned out my desk. I cleaned out a closet a little bit. I did some extra dog training with my dogs. Um, what else did I do? I did a couple other just things around the house because we couldn't be outside. And then today I was like, wow, I actually, that was great. I never would have done that if it was nice out. I would have been outside or, off with appointments or things. So I want to share that with you. Perhaps just embrace, okay, what is a gift of this season is a great place to start. So the wheel is designed to help us emulate the simple but meaningful way of life. I don't know about you, but I'm all about that at this stage of my life. It shows us how to reconnect with nature, creating balance between doing and being, and giving us the chance to reflect upon the season and the blessings that it brings. So the Wheel of the Year is actually a neo-pagan calendar that tracks the Earth's natural cycles and seasons. Now remember, pagan is really just an umbrella term that I feel has really been maligned, uh, unfairly maligned, I will add. It just means people of the earth. That's all it means. It's not anything religious or dark or evil. So that's a really important thing to get set at the beginning. That the pagan roots just means people of the earth, like American Indians would have been pagan. I mean, a lot of people now are returning back to that when we talk about connecting with nature and getting in sync with the seasons. That's all pagan ideas. So, newsflash for you. Okay. Same like with this term witch that you've heard me talk about before. I don't know about you, but I grew up strict Catholic, and witch was like, oh God, put that cross up and stay away from me. It's a very scary term. But witch just meant medicine woman. Really, it was just a medicine woman. Like I would have been a witch. And if you're subscribing to my show, you're probably one too. Anybody that uses herbs and medicine and nature to help heal and restore and balance people would have been a witch. Okay, crazy. All right, so the Wheel of the Year are about 8 Sabbaths, which is another word for festivals. Okay, so back to our celebration idea, bringing celebration to our lives. Doesn't that sound good to you? So these festivals embody the birth, life, and death of the earth itself as it journeys on its infinite and circular path through the cosmos. Within this cycle, the light and the dark will embark on their yearly course where power is shifted and split between them. At its height, the light will spread its vibrant rays and produce life and fulfillment. At its lowest point, the light will give way to the darkness that allows the land to rest and for dormancy. Through polar opposites, both the light and dark bring forth the gifts necessary for balance and harmony. Within the 8 Sabbaths, balance is created, allowing us to celebrate the wonders and gifts brought by each season. So the Sabbath, or festival, remember there's 8 main ones, okay? It's an earth-oriented term, and it's also agricultural, and like I said, it's solar-based, so based around the sun, and it's celebratory, and it represents the changes of the season and the natural harvest. It's also a celebration of a passage, not only of the sun, but of ourselves. And you know how they say too, like if you're going through a bad patch in your life or something bad right now, don't worry. Just remember, everything is cyclical. Everything changes. And some people don't like that. Like when you're going through a good patch, like things are awesome right now. I wish this would last forever. It could be even something silly sometimes, like when I get my hair done, I'm like, oh, I wish it could just stay like this. Or your nails, right? Oh, I wish they could just stay like this. Or something bigger, obviously, or something challenging or bad. You know, it's like, okay, sometimes that helps me just get through it because I remind myself, like, everything passes, everything changes. And just like the good, we want to hang on to that. But the bad things, the challenging things, the painful things, it will pass too. And sometimes that's the only thing that gets me through it. I don't know about you. So the cool thing about the Wheel of the Year is, unlike our normal calendar in our the northern hemisphere and our modern culture, the Wheel of the Year actually starts at the Yule, which is the Sabbath called the Yule. You've probably heard the term at Christmas, the Yule log, right? Well, that's from pagan traditions, as is all stuff pretty much in our culture. Easter is from a pagan tradition. So the Wheel of the Year starts at the Yule, which is December 20th or 21st. The Yule is one of the lesser Sabbaths. It's a quarter day midway between Samhain and Imbolc. At the winter solstice, the daylight is at its shortest. The goddess is Crone, which is the wise woman, while the god, still in the guise of the holy king, relinquishes power to the reborn Oak King. The Oak King will see us through the cold winter days. The Holy King has prepared for us when he slowly lengthens the days and prepares the land for spring and summer that's coming. The increasing sunlight will warm the earth over the coming months and awaken life wanting to be reborn with her. The turning point of the year is now, and it's been celebrated for many, many centuries. For the Norse and the Saxon pagans, it marked the beginning of the new year. The name Saturnalia comes from the Roman god Saturn, who was the god of agriculture. Did you know that? Saturn was the god of agriculture. Sorry, you can probably hear my dog playing with her toy, but you know what? She hasn't been feeling well lately, and I'm just going to let her keep playing because, frankly, I've never seen her play with a toy before like that, and she's enjoying herself, trying to entertain herself while I'm bringing you the show. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to let her continue. Okay, so agriculture. The celebration could last for 7 days, during which time there was a public holiday. Homes were decorated with winter greenery, and there was dancing and feasting and gift giving to honor the Oak King as the reborn sun. Sound familiar? Yep, like I said, all of the things that we think of as holidays and any traditions that we do have actually have pagan roots. Yep. Christians have many other traditions around this time of year that can be traced back to the pagan practices, like I just mentioned. Naming a few, we can start with tree decorating. Yep, that was a pagan practice. And that can date as far back as with the Druids. The Druids saw evergreen trees as symbols of everlasting life and used branches as decorations to symbolize the undying strength of the sun. How about kissing under the mistletoe? Sound familiar? Well, the Druids regarded mistletoe as a bringer of peace. Then there is the myth involving Frigga, the goddess of love, sometimes also known as Freya, and also has connections with our girl Aphrodite, by the way. And the murder of Freya's son, her son Balder, with an arrow made from mistletoe. When Balder was restored to life, Frigga blessed the mistletoe by giving a kiss to anyone who passed beneath it. Isn't that cool? So all the origins of our known holidays and cultures all go way back to nothing religious, and it wasn't started by the Christians or the Catholics. And don't forget the Yule log, like I mentioned before. Currently, this is usually a chocolate-covered cake in the shape of a log, or at best, a log of wood decorated with candles. But the original burning of the Yule log was much more exciting than that. It was the highlight of the festival. It involved a selection of huge logs of birch, oak, and willow or holly, though there are some that say only ash will do. Whatever was chosen ought to be taken from the householder's own land. Okay, so you can make your own Yule log, which is the best way to really do anything is you use your own land, your own property, the energy of where you're living right now, so you can get in harmony with where you are. But before you burn it, you decorate it with greenery. You can add ale or cider poured over it and sprinkle it with flour. The fire back in the day of this Yule log was kept burning for 12 days. Then, with great ceremony, the ashes were taken from the house, and a small charred piece was carefully preserved for the year to protect the house and be used to light the next year's log. So there's your continuity, there's your ritual, there's your meaning, okay? This is people taking a pause to recognize and get in harmony with the seasons, with life all around us. And remember that we are just a piece of a much bigger picture. So powerful. So it's the lucky few who can follow the tradition in the way our ancestors did, but not do it in a smaller scale. Find a suitable log, and after flattening on one side, you can stand or even drilled holes the top, and you can add candles. So, get creative. Have fun with your Yule log. If used during a ritual, you can use 2 green and 1 red candles at the beginning, and this can represent the Holy King. Then can change to a 2 red and 2 green to symbolize the rebirth of the Oak King. Or you can use red, green, and white candles to represent the season, or white and red and black to represent the triple goddess, and just have fun with it. You can decorate your log with greenery, red and gold bows, seasonal flowers, and even cloves. Then you can dust it with flour, before lighting the candles, of course, and you can put it somewhere meaningful in your home. You can even choose to burn it in your chimney or fireplace. And remember, if you do burn it, to save some ash for prosperity and for casting intentions and manifestations and prayers. So most of us find that celebrating the Yule time season coincides with the Christian celebration, of course, of Christmas. Regardless of your belief and your practices, the joy and love and the promise of this time of year is really at the heart of the whole thing. And isn't that the point of all of this? So that's definitely something we can all celebrate. So I'm going to give you a couple other suggestions for this time of year. So decorating your home and your environment is very, very important and powerful to help you harmonize and get in sync with things. So other than just like Christmas stuff, just keeping a mind towards bringing in nature to your life so it's part of your world, just bringing in those greens, the holly wreaths, even mistletoe, or like clove-studded oranges, or just something simple as a gold pillar candle can be very powerful, help get you in sync, and acts as a little bit of a reminder. Also, wild bird food is great. Wildlife can use the support if you're in the northern hemisphere and New England or anywhere the cold places. So I spend a little extra money myself because I just can't in good conscience give the birds genetically modified seed or any of this crap food. But that's just me. And I make an extra point to feed the birds at this time. In fact, during the storm that we just had, during the storm, I just threw the bird food out because there was just so much snow and everything. I couldn't put it in the normal place, and they all just came running. So It was kind of fun to watch them. It gave us something to do, watch the birds eat and enjoy the weather. And I'm always amazed that they're not freezing to death like I am. So, you know, feeding the birds is a great thing to do at this time of year. You can make a wreath if you're really inclined and feeling creative, which would be amazing. I really want to do stuff like that when I have my women's circle groups again. We're going to actually do stuff like we're going to make brooms, which has always been an ancient practice of women, and, you know, just household things like crafts and arts. And it just helps promote not only your sense of getting out of your head, but doing things with our hands is very powerful and very healing. That's part of why gardening and painting and art and anything with your hands, even something as simple as writing with your hand as opposed to typing on a computer, is much more powerful. And of course, it's really activating that right brain energy that we all need more of, in my opinion. We're all so left brain, right? Do you overthink things? Are you always stuck in your head? This is something that we can fix very easily by doing more right brain things. And when you do, that's where the fun begins. That's where your imagination starts to come online, and your sense of relaxation and peace and frankly happiness. So making wreaths is super fun, you know, adding pine cones and decoration. And of course, we have to remember at any time of year, any season, trying to eat, not only live in harmony with the season. Okay, this is very, very important. Okay, remember, we weren't all born yesterday, right? Our race has been around for a while, the human race. We evolved living and eating with the seasons. You weren't able to get bananas in January in Boston. Okay, you just weren't. They didn't grow. That's why people prepared for the winter by canning and freezing and all that in the fall harvest. Well, you want to think about where you're living and what naturally would be in your environment at this time. And this is where, yeah, preparation comes in. If you didn't prepare for the winter, you're screwed. You're dead. You wouldn't live. You wouldn't see the spring. You'd starve to death. Okay. So, eating with the seasons. This is why embracing the cold, if it is cold where you are at the Yule time, by having warm soups and broths and thick stews and like chili and tuber vegetables, like the root vegetables, more hearty, because you got to keep warm, right? It's not a time for fruit per se. And, you know, there's a whole slew of thought on this. You might want to look at the work of Dr. Jack Kruse, which is incredible. He really talks about getting in season with light and our diets and how that really promotes keeping your metabolism healthy and strong, helping your mitochondria, which is the powerhouse energy of your cells, and how when we don't do that, we have a lot of problems. Not only weight gain and trouble losing weight, but depression problems and sleep problems. So, yeah, eating with the season. An exception to that, I might add, might be apples. You know, apples would be good, but you definitely want to stay away from things that aren't normally out in that time. So, the Yule is December 20th to the 23rd ish. And we want to think about it in conclusion about the celebration of rebirth and new beginnings. It's the end of darkness and the celebration of the sun starting its journey around the earth again. So other ways you can celebrate, you can watch the fire in the fireplace. You can create new family recipes or just, you know, pop around your kitchen. You can, good time to clean out things because a lot of us are stuck inside more. So like some purging and um, you can watch a new sunrise. You can make some potpourri. You can go outside and just embrace the cold, little cold therapy. We all know that cold therapy is good for us. Cold showers and not long time, but little bursts of cold is good for your metabolism. It's good for your mind. It's good for your circulation because you want to be a little uncomfortable, right? Just like working out. You've heard it before. Your muscles don't grow if you don't challenge them. The same goes for your temperature setting. If we're always in, you know, 72 degrees, nice and toasty and comfortable, that's not good. You're not going to have a strong constitution long term. You're basically babying yourself. You want to feel challenged. That's why saunas are effective. You know, my favorite one, which is on my website, Sauna Space, which is amazing. It's not fun. I'm sweating to death. I want to get out. That's why sweat lodges have always been so popular, and fasting and things that are uncomfortable. These are challenges that make us stronger at the end of it. And the same goes for getting outside if it's cold. Also, I'll add, it's the time of year that we are meant to rest and restore. This is very important in our culture that's always on, right? We're always out there and bright and shiny. It can't be summer all the time, either in your life or in your mind body. You've heard me say this before. The world would burn out if we never had winter and a time to rest and restore, and for death, for things to die. All the leaves go off the trees and everything goes into the ground. Why? Because Mother Earth turns in within herself. This is the time where she rests and restores. And although we might not be able to see it externally by what's around us, this is happening. So it's just like, it's a good analogy to all of life, right? There's so much more happening than our physical senses can perceive. Our eyes, our ears, right? The fairy realm, the invisible realm, the spiritual realm. These are all things that are happening in spite if we see it or not. It's just like magnetic rays, right? Or radiation, or 5G, or, we're being blasted all the time. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. So it's something to keep in mind during the winter Yule months, that these things are all happening and they're critical for the next phase, the next cycle to then come in. So if you don't take the time during the winter to pull it back, rest, restore, go to bed with the sun. That means you go to bed a lot earlier than in the summer, right? Because there's not any more light. The light is like gone by 4 in New England. I don't know about where you are. But to take that time to not be outside all the time, to be more home, to read that book you've been wanting to read, to work on that project, to renovate that room or closet or whatever it is, to rest and restore yourself, more sleep, more relaxation, more opportunity to do that thing that's inside, that's not outside, then you will pay the price, because eventually you won't have the bandwidth when spring does come with the opportunity to be out in the world again. It's like the cycles of the moon, right? It's the winter time is the time of the dark moon. It's the time to go within, to rest and restore. It's the death period. It's the time to let go of what you don't want anymore in order to create space for the new. If you don't do that, there's no room for it. Okay, there's no room for new stuff because you're already full. If you want to learn more about the cycles of the moon, check out my episode that I did on the moon, and we'll put that in the show notes. Next, we have Imbolc. That is February 1st or 2nd. Okay, so this is a cross-quarter day, and it's midway between the Yule, which is the winter solstice, and Ostara, which is the spring equinox. It's considered to be one of the greater Sabbaths, which, remember, it just means festival or celebration, and it's dedicated both to the returning light and to the goddess. The ground is warming in preparation for the new growth. Spring is on the horizon, with early lambing, ewes, and beginning give birth to the first lambs of the season. This is the time when the goddess becomes maiden. The god is the young oak king, and together they prepare to bring new life into the world. In ancient Rome, Imbolc was the festival of, let's see if I can pronounce this right, Lupercalia. The Romans celebrated it by sharing the meat of a goat and cutting its hide into strips and using it symbolically to whip the members of community. Woo! I don't know about you, but that's a celebration. Crazy. Okay, those who were whipped were considered fortunate, and it was considered to promote fertility. So they particularly would whip the women. Lucky us. So in the Celtic calendar, Imbolc was linked to fertility and the land's preparation for new growth. The winter food stores of our ancestors would be getting low, and the success of the new farming season and the fertility of the land and animals was vital. The ancestors turned to the gods and goddesses to ensure the fertility of the earth. and the viability of the seed and the growth and abundance of the crops, which were essential to support them in the next winter. Imbolc can go by many other names. One in particular is Bridge Day, which is in the Celtic celebration of honoring Bridget, who is the goddess of regeneration and also of poetry. When Ireland converted to Christianity, did you know they weren't always Christian? Yup. The church made Bridget into a saint, Saint Bridget, and allowed the people to worship the goddess as a saint. Like the goddess of old, Saint Bridget was renowned for her gift of healing, and many wells and spells were named after her and visited as places of healing. Some of them still survive today. So, Imbolc is the time to physically prepare for the spring, and by clearing away the old debris of winter, lifting the dead growth out of your life symbolically or literally is a great way to prepare for the new. Traditionally, it's also the time to burn the Yule greens. Remember the ones that we prepared already. Retrieving them from where they were lurking in the corner of your garden, and there is no objection from the neighbors or authorities to light that Imbolc fire and burn them if you can. So another way we can honor and acknowledge this time of year would be to cleanse your home of negativity, which is something I do all the time by burning sage. Imbolc is a good time to cleanse any workspace that you have, and it just really anywhere in your home of negativity. You can use rosemary smudge, and you can even use sage, like I mentioned, and some people like Palo Santo. Just saying something simple as I'm cleansing this space of any negativity and anything that's not love of light is often what I say. And the main thing is to hold that clear intention and connection with your heart. And for Imbolc, eating seasonal food, a lot of white things are usually popular, not white sugar or white flour, I will add, but white things in particular, like onions and garlics, can be good to include. Some people like dairy. I would recommend definitely raw, and knowing where the source is good. Soups, creamy things, butter, obviously, ghee, lard. These are all wonderful things at this time of year to help your body and your brain get in sync with the season. Next, we have Ostara, March 20th or 21st. Ostara is a lesser Sabbath. It's a quarter day between Imbolc and Beltane. It's an equinox, which means that light and dark are more equal at this time. The triple goddess is Maiden, the goddess of spring, and the young god is now grown to manhood. The title Ostara is comparatively a recent name for what has always been known as the spring equinox. It comes from the Germanic lunar goddess, Ostare. Ostare's symbols, get this, ready, were the rabbit and the egg. Sound familiar? Yep, from a goddess, everybody, from a goddess. The rabbit represents fertility, and the egg, the cosmic egg of creation. The March hare, as in rabbit, Hare, was viewed as a major fertility symbol. The antics of particularly the male hare at this time can be frantic, and though often comical from our perspective, is born of the desperate need to win and mate with a suitable female. Nothing like a guy in heat, right, ladies? The Celtic people did not celebrate Ostara as a holiday. They acknowledged the changing of the seasons and the point at which the earth was showing new growth. In fact, the modern holiday does not have strong links to any ancient pagan religions and observations. Some believe Ostara emerged as a holiday due to the Roman invasion of Ireland. In ancient Rome, they celebrated the rebirth of Attis each time of year at this time. Attis was born via a virginal birth, and he was consort to the goddess Cybele. He died and was reborn each year, March 22nd and 25th. Persephone and Demeter, sound familiar? I have referred to those on 2 solo casts we did on Persephone and Demeter. You definitely want to check those out. We can put those in the show notes for you. But they were parted at Mabon when Persephone went into the underworld that I told you about, and she was tutored by Hades to be his queen. But now she's reunited with Demeter, her mother, and floods the land with growth and new life in her joy of being reunited with her daughter. At Ostara, modern pagans celebrate the passing of winter and the arrival of spring. Yippee! It's a time of fertility and new life, and a promise of the bounty yet to come over the following months. It's also a time of balance. Our aim, therefore, should be to attune our body and mind to the changes around us and in a way that enhance its effects on ourselves and to find balance and inner calm. Ostara is basically the pagan cousin of Easter, and it's a fertility festival, one of 3 fertility festivals, actually, and it celebrates the blessings to come in spring. Did you know that equinox actually means equal light? Yep, that's actually what it means. So this is a great time of year to focus on balance, balancing equal, right? Night and day. We can do practices such as like chakra work, working on the energy centers of our body, meditating, and of course, always spending more time in nature is ideal. This is a great time to plant seeds in your garden. It's a great time to practice any kind of spell work or love potion manifestation spells. And it's a great time, as always, to do spring cleaning, of course. A lot of people like to decorate eggs, keeping in mind the meaning behind that. Not just so you can eat candy or whatever, but it's a creative act of celebration and bringing beauty to your life. And it's fun. I like to go on bird nest hunts or nature walks. And of course, adding flowers and herbs to any candles is always great. The food at this time of year should represent hope and joy and birth, like eggs and chocolate. Chocolate brings me joy. Mint, honey, seasonal vegetables, and cakes are always a good component. All right, next we have Beltane, May 1st. This is the big one. You've probably heard of the maypole, right? And everybody loves Beltane. Beltane is the old Celtic name for May Day. The word is derived from the Celtic Gaelic Beltane, or Scottish Gaelic Beltuin, meaning bell, fire. Bel is the Celtic god of light. Beltane is one of the greater Sabbaths. Beltane and Samhain divide the wheel into its 2 primary seasons, winter and summer. They're opposites on the wheel and opposites in meaning. So just as Samhain is about honoring death, now I'll just add, we haven't got to Samhain yet, but that's basically Halloween, okay? So just as Samhain is about honoring death and endings, Beltane is about honoring life and beginnings. At Beltane, the earth goddess manifests as the May Queen. She is mature, but not yet mother. Today, we still crown a young girl May Queen. Whether she knows it or not, she is the living symbol of the goddess. If you want to learn more about women's cycles and seasons and stages in life, you might want to hop on my email list, by the way, because I'm going to be offering an online course talking about the 4 major life stages of women, of womanhood, of the feminine. It's for every age and stage in life. It helps us understand the stage that we're in at the time and how to progress through with power and with joy and with understanding of these bigger cycles that we all go through. It's an awesome course. I can't wait to share it with you. And you will be having weekly live calls with me and the other participants in the group, the other amazing women that we're going to walk this journey together. I can't wait for this course to be available. I'm trying to work on it as much as possible, and it should be out early 2024. So all you have to do is get on my email list. You know that's in the show notes. My email list is my website, my name, amy@amyfournier.com. And I really hope you consider joining us for that course because I really want to connect with you live and in person. And we're also going to be doing live in-person events in New England, as well as, well, we already got our in-person online women's circle going every month. You can jump on that. That's free. But so much good stuff coming. But it just made me think of it when we're talking about cycles of the feminine life. The young god is in his prime. He emerges as the May King. Jack in the green is often depicted covered in green leaves. The maypole is a well-known symbol of Beltane and represents the god, while the ribbons that accompany it and encompass it, wrapping around it, represents the goddess. There are a number of pre-Christian figures associated with the month of May and Beltane. Jack in the Green is a spirit of the greenwood. References to Jack appear in the late 16th century manuscripts, and the entity known as the Green Man, who strongly is associated with Ceranos, is depicted as a masculine face covered in leaves and shrubbery. Actually, impressions of this green man's face can still be found decorating many of Europe's older cathedrals, despite local bishops forbidding stonemasons from including the pagan image on the buildings. Beltane and its imagery is one of the few festivals Christians did not try to incorporate into their new faith. The general belief as to why that should be is that Beltane, too, is laden with sexuality and sexual imagery that's not to be tolerated. The Romans celebrated Flora, the goddess of spring flowers and vegetation, and one of the many fertility goddesses. On the eve of Beltane, the Celts built 2 large fires created from the 9 sacred woods in honor of summer and return of life and the fruitfulness of the earth. They would drive their cattle between the bellfires and through the smoke to bless them with health and fertility for the coming year. One thing to keep in mind if you ever burn trees or wood is to always thank the trees for their offerings and only take the fallen branches collected that are already on the ground. So yeah, although originally May Day and Beltane Day was about sexuality and fertility and celebrating conception for the what's coming, it's the birth, it's the seed. It's also the time when the gates of the spirit and fairy worlds are said to be open to travelers. So it has that correspondence with the Samhain, which again is Halloween, right? It's when that veil is very thin. It's a very magical, special time of year. And it's a great time to set your intentions and affirmations and any kind of magical practices that you might have. Okay, now we have Litha, June 20th, 21st. Oh, and I'll add that I'm giving you 2 dates for each of these, okay? And basically that's because you celebrate it sunset to sunset, okay? So Litha, June 20th, 21st, is a lesser Sabbath, or known as a quarter day, which celebrates the midsummer solstice. It's a time when daylight is at its longest before the darkness once more begins to increase. Being the longest day of the year, Litha lies directly across from Yule, which is the shortest day, which we talked about. The goddess is mother, while the god is the guise of the oak king and has poured his strength into the ripening crops. Now he relinquishes power to the renewed holy king. While the oak king represents fertility, new life, and growth, the holy king represents the harvest, wisdom, and rest. The holy king gains power, and the new days grow shorter and cooler, and we move towards the harvest of then winter. The Romans celebrated this time as sacred to Juno, the wife of Juniper, and the goddess of women and childbirth. The month of June was actually named for her. There are few records of how Litha was celebrated by the Celts, but from records kept by the early Christian monks among the surviving folks, it would seem that midsummer was celebrated with huge bonfires high on hilltops. People believed that Litha fire possessed great power. The embers were used as charms against injury and bad weather in harvest time. These were placed around the fields of grain and orchards to help protect the crops and ensure abundance. Just as the Christian religion chose Yule to be the time for Christ's birth, Litha directly opposed Yule on the wheel of the year, was decreed to be the time of the birth of John the Baptist, and so declared to be his feast day. John the Baptist is one of the few, if not only, Christian saints whose birth is celebrated rather than his death. Kind of interesting point. Litha is a time to sit back, relax, and enjoy the abundant light and life. Decorate your home with birch, fennel, St. John's wort, and white lilies for blessings and protection. Breathe in the promise of Litha as though taking a long anticipatory breath before a dive into warm, crystal clear pool. Love that. So golds and purples, orange, yellows, greens, and reds are great colors. Add sun symbols like sunflowers, and you can choose from so many different natural things in your environment. This is also an interesting time to connect with the male energies because as the Oak King retires and the Holy King is reborn at Litha, it is a good time to reconnect with these male energies both within and without us. So why not celebrate the men in your life during this time? And you can even perform something special for them or make them a special meal or even just send them a little special text. I would add maybe flirt a little bit too and make it a little bit fun. So we can gather herbs at this time. We can create wands. We can look at a sun wheel and give seasonal offerings. I think honey is a great thing to have at this time of year in particular, particularly if it's local, which will really help you out as far as communing with the season in the area. So it's the longest day of the year and the shortest night of the year, and it's the time when crops are in bloom. So this is a perfect time to celebrate by laying in the sun, harvesting your crops, collecting herbs. You can even make oils and really enjoy fire magic. The element of fire is very powerful at this time of year. Lamas, August 1st and 2nd. Lamas, and it's also known as Lumascia is another name for it, okay? It's one of the 4 main festivals of the Celtic tradition. The name Lamas was taken from the Anglo-Saxon and Christian holiday, which is celebrated at the same time. For those who know this time as Lumascia, this is a time for honoring Lu, the Celtic god of craftsmanship. If you choose to recognize today as a festival of Lu, then you can celebrate your own talents and skills by honoring Lu with a rite, R-I-T-E. Celebrate with other craftspeople or alone. Give thanks for the skills you have and ask for blessings on your hands and on your tool. It's a time of Thanksgiving, which marks the first harvest of grain crops. Lamas is symbolized by the baking and offering of bread. In early Christian times, the first loaves of the season were blessed by the church. This is a greater Sabbath, meaning a big festival, a cross quarter, and considered to be a day of power. Lamas is midway between summer solstice and autumn equinox. It's directly opposite Imbolc on the wheel of the year, and Imbolc was the time, remember, when the land was beginning to wake from its winter sleep, a time of promise, of fruitfulness for what's to come. So Lamas is the first fulfilling of that promise. In some Wiccan traditions, Lamas is the time of year when the goddess takes on the aspects of the harvest mother. The earth is fruitful and abundant, and crops are bountiful, and livestock are fattening up for the winter. However, the harvest mother knows that the Holy King is leading the land into a period of rest and regeneration, which is coming soon. The cold months are coming, the food sources will be scarce, so she encourages the animals to put on a little extra layer of fat while they can, and she guides us into preparing for the winter months ahead. This is the season for harvesting grain and storing seeds for next year's planting. Grain has held a place of importance in civilization, back almost to the beginning of time that we know it. For obvious reasons, grain became associated with the cycle of death and rebirth. So Lammas is a time of transformation, of rebirth, and new beginnings, and this should be reflected in your rituals and any manifestations or affirmations that you have now. Oranges, reds, and yellows are good colors, and this is the perfect time to celebrate working on a craft or begin one. Also, it's a great time to celebrate abundance in your life, abundance of the earth and all of life around you. Again, getting in sync with what's going on in your environment. It's a great time to give thanks, and it's the first of the 3 Sabbaths. So it celebrates the crops of late summer and early autumn. It's a really cool time to create a sun wheel or just light a special candle. And you can work on a garden project or even plant some herbs. So the last thing I want to tell you on the Lamas is bread is the ultimate symbol of the Lamas season. In many traditions, a loaf of special bread is baked in the shape of a man to symbolize the god of the harvest. It's also the season when gardens are in full bloom. So from root vegetables to fresh herbs, so much of what you need right now is right there in your own backyard at the local farmer's market. And if you haven't started your own food and garden, I would really, really suggest that you do that. There's a great resource on my website, Food Forest Abundance. I did a great show with the founder, Jim Gale. And if you need a little help getting your even if you just have a small area of land, less than an acre or a quarter of an acre or whatever, getting something started to grow your own stuff is mind, body, spirit supportive. That's for sure. Okay, next we have Mabon, which is September 20th, 21st. Mabon is one of the lesser Sabbaths. It's a quarter day midway between Lamas and Samhain. It is the autumn equinox, which means that light and dark are once more equal, just as they were in Ostara, which lies directly opposite on the wheel of the year. So Mabon is symbolic of equality and balance. Now, however, it's the long nights and short days of winter which are approaching. In the legend of Demeter and Persephone, which I referred to several times, Demeter has returned her daughter Persephone to the underworld to continue her teaching with Hades. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out that episode that I did for you. It explains how she spends half the year in one world and the other, the upper and the lower worlds. So, because Demeter is not too happy about this, she halts the new growth and remains in mourning during the winter while her daughter Persephone is gone. And she awaits the time that her daughter will be returned to her at Ostara, which we already talked about. So Mabon is a time to look back on the year that has been and reflect on the changes taking place as darkness increases and temperatures fall. Farmers of the past and of the present prepare the earth and plant the winter wheat. It needs to be well established in order to survive the rigors of winter. Preparation is key and timing is vital. Though Mabon was not celebrated by the ancient Celts, the Anglo-Saxons referred to this month as Holy Month. The reason for this and their practices are all mostly lost in time, unfortunately. But just like its partner, Ostara, which is the summer equinox, Mabon was only recently given its name. Previously, it was simply known as the autumn equinox. The name Mabon was borrowed from the Welsh god Mabon, the son of Modred. Mabon means great sun. It is difficult to link the autumn equinox to the Welsh god unless you consider Mabon's life. He was kidnapped at the age of 3 to be rescued much later by none other than King Arthur. So his life has come to represent the strength of survival and wisdom of age. The autumn equinox is a time when the earth had been reborn from the previous year, grown, flourished, and then aged. It has experienced much and could be considered to have gained wisdom now. So it is now in its final phase before a new year begins its Samhain, which I'm going to talk to you about next, because Samhain is actually considered the new year. Mabon is the second harvest. The Christian churches are full with the offerings of the harvest festival. It is a time for reflection and giving thanks to the sun that poured its life into the crops being gathered and now stored. We celebrate the goddess as she passes from mother to crone, the wise woman, and the holy king, her consort, we celebrate as well because he is gaining power and bringing rest and regeneration to the land. I should say because she's the one that's bringing regeneration and rest, the crone. So it's a good idea to celebrate the autumn colors, the reds, the oranges, the maroons. Gold is really big right now. A good way to decorate your house is bringing in symbols of hidden life, like pine cones, grains, acorns, apples, pomegranates, seeds. Witch hazel and ivory are all great things. So you can recognize Mabon in other ways, like just by simply thanking the land that you live on and just bringing some mindfulness, connecting in your heart. You can honor the trees by making a symbolic offering to them, just by simply placing a small fertilizer stick or giving them a little kiss. That's what I like to do. Or even better, hug a tree and the tree will hug you back. You can prepare for the rebirth of your land by collecting seeds, and you can also look for berries. If none of this appeals to you, just simply take a walk. Go in the woods or park and breathe in the change of the seasons. and the land and prepare it yourself as you commune with the coming darkness to help find your inner peace. It's a great time to set your affirmations and your intentions, any kind of spell work, particularly concerning protection, self-confidence, and prosperity. As light and dark are equal, so the spells for harmony and balance are particularly appropriate and effective. So lastly, Mabon is the season in which the apple orchards are blooming. Typically, at their most abundant in the fall, an apple orchard is a great place to spend the afternoon. Again, embrace the season, embrace what's going on around you at the moment. You can go apple picking, it's super fun, and then you can bring a bunch home and make a yummy apple pie or something delicious like that. One of my favorites is apple crisp because I love cinnamon almost as much as I like chocolate. Actually, I probably like it just as much. All right. Finally, the last thing I want to share with you in this amazing this amazing episode, hopefully it's amazing, is Samhain. The big Samhain. We all know it as Halloween, October 31st. Samhain is a cross-quarter day midway between Mabon, which again is the autumn equinox, and Yule. It's one of the greater Sabbaths. It's both the end and the beginning of the Celtic and Wiccan year. It's often referred to as the Witch's New Year. Samhain is believed to be a Celtic word, which, when loosely translated, means summer's end. It is the time when the third and final harvest is safely in, and so it's appropriate to celebrate the fruitfulness of the land over the past year, as it is now prepares to rest and regenerate through the winter. This is also the time when the veil between the physical world and the world of spirit is at the most insubstantial, so it is the perfect time to remember and honor our ancestors. So this is what obviously gave root to all of the Halloween stuff and the Day of the Dead and the zombies walking around, right? Because for eons, humans knew this was the time of the year when the veil between the two worlds were thinnest. The goddess is now the crone. And today, the title crone is, as you know, is not really like a good thing. It used to drive me crazy. You've probably heard me say it. I didn't like that word, but I've come to embrace it more because we know it's just another word for witch, and it's a word for wise woman, and it came from the root that means crown. So the wise woman is the one who holds the knowledge. She and her consort have brought the world full circle. The god, still in the guise as the Holy King, is aging as well. He is the leader of the wild hunt, and he is often depicted with stag's antlers and in one of the last wild rites before he relinquishes his reign to the Oak King at the Yule time. The Holy King and the Oak King are two aspects of the same god. Samhain is also known as Halloween, like I mentioned, and around the 8th century, the Catholic Church decided to use the 1st of November as All Saints' Day. A Mass is said for them, which is known as All Hallows, literally meaning a Mass for all those who are hallowed. The evening before the Mass is known as Hallows Eve, which over time became known as what? Halloween. To our ancestors, Samhain was the time to make preparations to survive the winter. Calculations were made as to how many beasts could be fed over the winter and which were to be slaughtered and what meat preserved that we needed for the family. The slaughter of the aged or surplus animals and the very fact that winter was such a perilous time for everyone, particularly the old or the young or the sick, brought people face to face with the prospect of death. It is a theme which goes hand in hand with Samhain. New beginnings come from this death, the death of the old. It is a death that gives life its sweetness, that's for sure, and decay that feeds the new life. It's like bacteria and all that feeds on death in order to bring new life. Today, most of us no longer have that life and death struggle, thankfully. But Samhain remains the time to take stock of our lives over the past year and plan for the new. It is also the time to remember your loved ones who are no longer here and ask for their blessings, just like our ancestors always did. So as the third and final fall harvest, it is the witch's new year. That veil is very thin. It's a great time to work with the tarot or carve pumpkins or share family stories. Create a new altar or special healing spot in your home. And as always, like any time of year, it's a great time to take a walk in nature. It reflects the desire for coziness and protection. So warming food is really great at this time. Something savory, like some kind of squash dish, or again, those root vegetables or potatoes, if that works for your body. And it's a great time just to pause and celebrate your ancestry, where you came from, your DNA, your heritage. I like to pull out old family recipes at this time because I just feel like it's a way to kind of honor and keep alive the rituals in my life. So there you go, my friends. There's a little information for you on the Wheel of the Year. I hope you found it helpful and interesting and thought-provoking. And I really hope it helps you have more harmony in your life, help you connect with nature, connect with the cycle, be reminded of the natural cycle of this world that you live in and getting in sync with it so you can feel more peace and more harmony and more inspiration and more love. Bring celebration into your life. Keep those important rituals. Take that time to pause, to reflect, to notice, to commune both with yourself and with others. And if it helped you, please let me know. I like to know what kind of shows you like me to talk about and what kind of guests you like to have on the show, what you find helpful and inspirational. And if you want to help me, please share this show with somebody. And you could leave a review. That would be amazing if you feel inclined. It only takes a moment. And it's a great way for me to know you're there. You're out there. You're listening. Someone's actually listening to this time and energy I put into the show. So it really means a lot to me. And thank you if you've done so already. You can check out my online course by signing up for the email list to get on board with that. Join my online free Women's Circle and all my favorite products with our discount coupon codes on my website as well. You can find me on Instagram at FitAmyTV. I'm on Facebook as well. Not too much, but I'm there. And I'm just super grateful for you. So wherever you are at this time of the year, embrace it. Look for the good in it. Look for the lesson. Get in sync with it and watch your life get better. I'll see you next time on Awakening Aphrodite. Would you like to support my mission to help empower people all over the world to be all of who they truly are? If so, please subscribe to the show, leave a review on iTunes, and share it with a friend. And if you're looking to take immediate action to align your energy and optimize your health, visit amyfournier.com. Thanks for listening to Awakening Aphrodite. Let's awaken her together in you. I'm your hostess, Amy Fournier, and I already can't wait to be with you again and for you to hear what I have planned for the next show.
Thanks for listening to Awakening Aphrodite with Amy Fournier. To learn more about Amy, check out her website, amyfournier.com. That's amyfournier.com. You can also check out Amy's live and on-demand virtual fitness and yoga classes and sign up for her newsletter to receive a free mini ebook of 3 of her top tips for making holistic health a lifestyle. Again, that's amyfournier.com and get your ebook sent to your email immediately. Connect with Amy on the daily on Instagram at FitAmyTV, FITAMYTV, and watch many of the podcast episodes and subtopic clips on her YouTube channel, which is also FitAmyTV. Enjoy, and we'll see you next time on Awakening Aphrodite.